What's up, and welcome back to the channel for another video. So as many of you know, usually when it comes to games, I'm a bot. I'm terrible. I'm so bad, but not Fall Guys. I'm actually pretty good at Fall Guys. I'm a champion of Fall Guys. So I want to give you some tips on every single mini game in Fall Guys to ensure that you can get yourself that victory crown. Now, Tim the Tap Man, if you're watching this, make sure you give me a shout out once you get your win, okay? I'm glad I can help. And of course, if you enjoy the content on this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, click that the bell as well. That'll let you stay up to date with everything I'm putting out. And why don't you give me a follow on Twitch as well? I go live every Monday and Thursday night. But let's get started with our first level. All right, so the first minigame I want to talk about is Tiptoes, where you have to test the platforms to try and find the path to the end. Never be first. All right, you don't want to be the guy at the front of the pack, because either you're going to step onto a platform you don't want to step onto, or more likely you can get pushed onto a platform. Always try to stay 3 or 4 guys back. That way you can still win, but you're not the one taking the risks. All right, second, the platforms that are fake will wiggle. So if you see a platform wiggling, definitely don't jump on it. And lastly, you can also dive to the finish line from 2 platforms back. So you can dive over 1 platform and still hit the finish line. You got to time it right. It is a risk, but if time's running short, you can take it. Jinx is our first team game on the list. The problem with team games is as much as I can give you advice, always remember that you're going to be reliant on your team. So with Jinx, you want to keep moving and keep your eyes ahead. Be aware of where you're running and who else is running there. A lot of times you just kind of focus on your immediate surroundings or your destination, but keep an eye on the path. Grouping up makes you a bigger target. Don't do it. If people see you in a group, they're going to chase after you. Also, by grouping up, you limit the directions that you can move because your teammates might be blocking you. If you are Jinx, make sure you target large groups, not individuals. So the opposite of the advice I just gave. And don't waste your time chasing a single person around. They will almost always outrun you. Figure out how you can catch people off guard. Perfect match. This game is broken. It's the one where you have to memorize the order of the fruit. It's a broken game. The game is broken. My 2 pieces of advice, and this works for me every single time. 1, just go wherever the large group goes. It's an easy way to win. You don't have to hurt your brain by trying to memorize everything. All right, we got another team game, team tail tag. Really, you're super dependent on your teammates and how they're doing on this one, but make sure you're utilizing the swinging hammers to knock back players who are chasing you. Just make sure your timing is spot on. You don't want to be knocked by a hammer because it will have the exact opposite effect. The opposite can also occur as well. If you're chasing somebody, try to steer them towards the swinging hammers. It might give you an edge, but try to not run directly at them yourself, otherwise you'll never catch them. Gate crash. This is when the gates are moving up and down. So the obstacle course. Make sure that you plan for the gate that will be open when you arrive, not the gate open when you're looking ahead. Oftentimes that gate will be closed. Try and estimate the time that the gates are opening and closing and know which one's going to be available to you when you arrive. Some gates are much slower, like very slow to open back up. Make sure if you get stuck at that gate, just move to another one. Do not wait for it to open. You will lose. DoorDash. Never be first. Once again, never be first. Just watch where everyone else is going. Stay back, stay second, third, whatever. As you're going through the open doors, jump and dive over other players. If other players are not going through that door and it's just you, just do a normal jump. The dive will hurt you. But if other players are there, that will help you get ahead of them, and their momentum will push you ahead as you're getting back up. Oopsie Daisy. That's the team game where the hoops are coming down and you have to jump through them for points. Watch shadows on the ground to find where hoops are landing. The spinning platforms can help move you around to different hoops. And third, and this one's huge, absolutely huge, separate yourself from your teammates and cover as much ground as possible. It doesn't do any good if 4 of you try to jump through the same hoop. You need to be spread out. Hoarders. Once again, another team game. You want to be hoarding giant balls on your side of the field. Number 1, make sure to support defense if your team has none. Number 2, and this one you're going to hear me repeat for a lot of the team games, go after the team with the least number of balls unless one team has no defense at all. What I mean by that is you don't necessarily need to come in first place. You just make sure that you don't come in last place. And so if another team's doing very poorly, just keep targeting. Don't let them get momentum. Don't let them pick up. Just keep pulling their balls away from them unless the team in first place happens to have no defense whatsoever. Then you can snag a few balls over to your side. But your goal isn't about getting your score up. It's about getting one score down so that you can win. rock and roll. Now, this is a strategy I don't really see used a lot, but I've had a ton of success with it. As soon as this game starts, I like to run all the way ahead while the rest of my team pushes our ball, and then I find the team that is the furthest behind, excluding my own team, and I wait until their ball gets there, and I just push it back, right? Once again, you don't need to come in first. You just need to make sure you don't come in last. And you find the team with the lowest score beside yourself, and you just wait there to push their ball back up the hill. It's a great strategy. It has worked for me every single time. Dizzy Heights. This is a fun one. This is where all the spinning platforms are as you're trying to get up the hill. One big piece of advice: never fight against the spinning platforms, even if it means going the wrong way around the circle. So even if you have to go the long way around the circle, that's better than trying to run against the spinning platform. It will slow you down. Fall ball, the soccer game, Rocket League, whatever you want to call it. You could also say my least favorite game, but the trick with fall ball is you want to utilize jumps and dives. And if you are defending the goal, don't. Instead, defend the ramp into the goal, because once the ball hits that ramp, you've basically lost that point already. And so if you can keep it from getting to the ramp, you have a much better chance. Too often, though, players sit back almost into the ramp itself, and they try to wait till the ball gets right to the edge to push it back. That's going to cause you to lose every single time. Jump Showdown. This is the Showdown final level version of Jump Club. You want to keep an eye on which pieces are falling. You don't want to be on the one that's falling, but you also don't want to find yourself trapped on one that is by itself. The best thing you can do is judge where you need to be so that you always have two pieces on either side of you. Don't get stuck with just one piece. And make sure you keep your distance from other players. Many players like to grief by grabbing onto you and holding you and getting you knocked off the level. Do not reciprocate this action. If you try to grief players, you will almost always get knocked off yourself as well. It's a terrible strategy. Don't do it. Rollout. This one's easy. It's very simple to stay alive on rollout. The only way that you'll die is if you're being stupid. All right, so don't be aggressive. Don't try to grab or block players as they're jumping between the platforms, because most likely you can cause yourself to fall off or do something that gets you knocked off, and it's really your fault at that point. Number two, the other thing I would suggest is keep it safe, and you can try to use the upward moving walls as you're jumping, and that gives you a little bit more time because you can take a riskier jump, but the walls will catch you and hold you as it moves up. But it's not really super necessary. This one's easy. We got Seesaw up now. A lot of people say that this is their least favorite level. I actually really enjoy it, but that's because I know how to beat it. The trick with Seesaw is that you really don't want to rush. Take your time. Everybody gets knocked back so often that if you're trying to rush through, you're just going to get yourself knocked out as well and be at the same place that they're at. Instead, take your time, find opportunities. Before you jump on the platform, see where the next platform is going to be. Know how you have to balance your platform, but do not rush. Don't just jump onto because you feel like you have to. Wait for everyone else to either get off of it or fall off of it before you make your move. Tail Tag. This is the single version of Team Tail Tag where you are all on your own. The two things you can do are, one, utilize hazards to keep away opponents. All right, so as somebody's chasing you, be aware of what hazards are around and how you can use that hazard to knock them back. Just be careful that you don't knock yourself down in the process. Number two, never chase after a player, but rather use hazards and heights to catch a player off guard. If you're trying to get a tail and you're just following somebody, almost always they'll stay ahead of you. They'll always outrun you. You're both going at the same speed. Instead, try to utilize height and obstacles to catch somebody off guard so you can grab their tail. Egg Scramble. Once again, another team game similar to Hoarders. The trick with Egg Scramble is make sure your team has a couple defenders in their next. Second, go after the team with the lowest point count. You don't want to go after whoever's winning. Instead, go after whoever is losing, unless it's yourself, in which case, then whoever's in second place. If you're snagging eggs from another team, instead of carrying them all the way back to your nest, just throw them out of that team's nest and grab another egg and throw it out as well, and just keep repeating that process. If you try to go back to your nest every time, you're limiting the number of points that you can subtract from that team. Remember, it's all about causing one team to lose, not your team to win, because two teams will get through and one team will not. Fall Mountain, the Crown Rush, whatever you want to call it, this level is on everybody's mind when they hit that play button. The first thing, though, on Fall Mountain that catches people off guard, you want to jump on and off that orange platform in the beginning. There's a slight height difference at the beginning and the end, and if you just try to run onto it, you'll trip or you'll stumble and you'll slow your player down. If you're climbing up in the boulder section and you're not in first place, make sure you're tagging closely behind someone ahead of you. The boulder will hit that player in front of you, protecting you and taking out the person in front of you. When you're passing through the hammer wall, make sure you always position yourself in a way that you're going to be hit forward by the hammers and not backwards. And finally, make sure that you don't just dive after the crown when you get to it. Be aware of how high the crown is. Too many players try to jump and grab the crown, but instead fall to their death. Hit Parade. This is one with the really tricky poles in the beginning that frustrate everybody. First, you want to aim for the least crowded poles. Don't try to go where everybody else is. They're too easy to fall off of. If you even get touched by another player, you're most likely going to drop. If you're not confident with the poles, just jump and dive right into the pit at the very beginning. You'll save yourself a lot of time. Be careful of the pendulums at the end. I know you see that finish line and you want to rush towards it, but being knocked off the map by those pendulums will very quickly put you in last place. Take your time and dodge them one by one. Fruit Shoot. If there's one level that I am bad at, it's probably this one. And really, because it's just random. There's so much randomness to this level that it makes it incredibly difficult to beat. But there are two things you can do to help give yourself a better chance. One, the barriers on the sides. You'll see these little triangular barriers on the sides. They can help prevent you from getting hit by fruit if you are close enough to them. The second thing you can do, and this is a little devious, all right? I do apologize to anybody that gets upset at you for doing this. But hey, you're in it to win, not to just be a nice guy. Stay right behind another player as you're going up and grab hold of them anytime you see a fruit coming down towards you. That fruit will hit them, knock them down, but keep you going. Block Party. Once again, this is another super easy level, but it can be ruined by other players. What you want to do is you want to keep away from other players on Block Party, because as those blocks are coming to you and passing past you, the only thing you really need to worry about is another player trying to grab hold of you and grief you. Stay away from other players. Make sure you give yourself plenty of time to jump. Jump Club. This is a much simpler version of Jump Showdown. The first thing you want to do is make sure you keep away from other players. Players really like to grief in this game mode by holding on to you and getting you both knocked out early on in this game. The second thing that you want to do for this game is keep an eye on both of the spinning poles, not just the lower pole. A big mistake a lot of players make is that they'll only be watching the lower pole and they'll find themselves in a situation where both poles are lined up and they can't jump over the lower pole. Hex-a-gone. This is a great one that we absolutely love. It's so much fun. Now for Hex-a-gone, there are three primary strategies that players use. I will give you all three, and then you can determine which one suits your play style the best. Number one is take it slow and just jump one hex at a time. There's no rush. Jump onto a hex, wait as long as you're able to, and then jump to the next hex. The hexes do not disappear immediately, and so that allows you to slow down your gameplay and take up less spaces throughout the game. Strategy number two, run fast and cut off other players. Get in front of other players and destroy the path that they were planning on taking. You're going to force them to go down to the next level. And strategy number three, drop down to the final platform immediately. Starting from the inside, work your way out in a spiral platform, creating a pit for other players to fall into. This is an absolutely devastating strategy, but poses massive risks to you because one false step means certain death. Slime Climb. This is the map where the slime slowly rises and you begin to freak out. Well, here's the trick with Slime Climb. Don't freak out. Don't get stressed. Take your time. Enough players get eliminated in Slime Climb that really simply getting to the end will get you qualified for the next game. One of the biggest mistakes I see players make is they try to jump on that bounce platform early on to get a shortcut in the level. Not only does it waste time, but it also stresses you out. Because oftentimes players will try to make it a second time or third time, killing more time because they're afraid that they've already wasted too much and they need the shortcut to continue on. It's better to get to the finish line in 9th or 10th than to get eliminated by the slime. And finally, we have one of the most loved mini games in all of Fall Guys, TheWhirlygig. The fans spinning in the beginning of the level, let them push you ahead, right? Take the opportunity, give yourself a little jump as they hit you so they knock you up in the head, not just dragging you across the circle. Near the end of the map, there's an opportunity to go through the middle for a shortcut or go around the sides as a longer but safer option. The shortcut almost never works. It just doesn't. Don't even rush it. Just take your time. So many players get knocked off platforms in this section of the map that it's just better to go slow and steady and get to that finish line, kind of like Slime Climb. The last bit of advice, that last section of spinning fans, not the first one where you want to get knocked ahead, but the last section, instead of using them to knock you ahead, make sure that you're going against the direction of the fans. So make sure that the fan is coming towards you. It gives you a better opportunity to jump because A, your jumps are now longer, and B, you can see it coming at you, whereas from behind, oftentimes it will blindside you. Make sure to comment below. Let me know which of these tips helped you out the most. Real quick, before you go, take a second, jump over to Twitch. There's a link down below. Make sure you give me a follow over there. That way you can jump in on our live streams, you can chat with us, you can hang out with us. It's a very interactive experience. But if you've already done that, right here are some amazing other videos that you should check out as well. Just kind of click one. You gotta click them, man. You gotta pick one. There's others on the side somewhere, wherever the other sidebar is. But if you could just pick a video, come on.